In this video, we'll briefly cover how to create a new role and integrate it in your group system in a dynamic group system. The first thing we'll do is we'll navigate to our mission folder, and then the config folder. In the config folder, we'll have all our roles as well as the group layout. The first thing I'll navigate to is the groups config. In the groups config, you'll see I already have some roles set up. One such role is the Game Master group. The Game Master group has the same role as the Platoon Commander. I want to change that. So let's give the Game Master its own separate role. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the example config. Let's copy this and paste it. Let's give it a new name. Let's give it something fitting, like GM for Game Master. In the new config, we'll have some new variables to play with. For starters, we want to give it a class name. This class name will be the same one that will be applied in the groups config. So let's give it something fitting, like GM, short for Game Master. We can also give it a name. A name is what will be applied when you open the group system on the server. So for this particular role, it will be Game Master. Rank, well, it's a Game Master slot, so let's give it the highest possible obtainable rank in the game. And for descriptions, well, we can either use a pre-written one by looking at the string table, or, since none of these fit the role quite well, let's give it its own description. You're the Zeus. How fitting. For traits, we can either apply some vanilla or ace traits. Because it's a Game Master slot, I don't see why these traits would be important. But if you want to apply your own, you can navigate to the engineer config to see how the vanilla traits and ace traits are applied, as well as the medic config. Heading back to our Game Master config, we'll have an icon. This you can change yourself, but I don't see a reason to change it for this config. The default loadout, however, is a vanilla loadout. As my mission is a modded mission, I want to change this. The default loadout is the loadout that will be provided when you select the role. So here, we're just going to remove the default loadout. Now we'll head into the game, place down a unit, open the arsenal, and for this video I have a sample loadout ready. This guy has nothing but a pistol, uniform, vest, and a backpack and a helmet. So let's export this through the ACE arsenal. Then we'll head back into the config, where we'll paste the default loadout. Now, the first thing you'll notice, if you're a keen eye for these things, is we already have some squiggly square brackets. So what we'll do is we'll remove the outermost square brackets of the paste that we did, as such. But, if you look at the formatting, we're using the squiggly brackets, not square brackets. So what we'll do is we'll replace all these square brackets with squiggly brackets. Now in Visual Studio, we can do Control F, find all left, quickly just replace them all. Do it again with the opposite side. Sweet. So now the format is squiggly brackets all the way through. Now for the arsenal restrictions, this mission has arsenal's restrictions. So the weapons tab will be where you apply custom weapons. We can remove this as it's not needed. Can also remove these down here as neither of them are needed. If we noticed, back in the game, our guy had some specific things in his loadout that none of the other roles had. For example, he had a pistol. Let's Control C on this Browning Hag Power to export the class name. Let's head back over to the config. We can then do a quotation mark and then paste this class name in. We can then do a comma and then briefly add the ammo for it as well. Sweet. Now this guy also has a radio backpack that we can briefly add as well down here. It doesn't matter if you put unfiltered items into the arsenal items. For example, you can put this backpack up here and it won't make any difference, real difference. However, it is nice to sort these things out in the 4 different categories. Now, if we go back in game, now before we go back in game, we'll quickly take a glance at the group's config. Now remember, we gave it the class name GM. So going back to the group's config, we want to change this role to GM. Heading into the roles config, we want to make sure that the group system registers that we created this new config. So we'll include it here. Awesome. This will also be where the common arsenal for all roles are applied. Now once we've done that, and everything should look fairly reasonable, we can head back into the game, load up our mission, and will be granted with the role selection. Now we created a Game Master role, so let's look down here in the Game Master group. It appears with the role Colonel. Has our fitting description, as well as the default loadout that we applied. Awesome. So that is how you briefly create a new role and integrate it in your group system.